With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Rotten Tomatoes score of Disney's A Wrinkle in Time opening on Friday. Because this is impressive. Like, when I say impressive, I mean impressively bad. This is a movie that, in my list for 8 movies to see in March and 3 to avoid, was the #1 movie to avoid. It looked bad, and I am very happy to say that I'm to kind of point out that I'm right, that it's not a movie worth seeing, right? Even John Campea just saw it. He's coming out saying that it's clunky, misguided, incomprehensible mess of a film. And as we see here, the 44% is not giving it any help. And this isn't like some big push from people who are alt-right, who want to see the movie go down. This is all reviewers. This has nothing to do with the critics or with the audience score, which will probably end up being a little bit better than the 44%, because this type of movie is going to bring in kids this weekend. It not only due to Oprah and Reese Witherspoon and Mindy Kaling being in the movie, but a lot of it to do with the young girl, Storm Reed, and the fact that it's a colorful movie. The color that's there and is really going to bring in a lot of people. And I don't mean that to be a race thing. I realize that kind of sounded like that. What I'm more or less referring to is just go look at the trailer. The palette of colors that they use for the film is there. But anyway, 44%. So let's do what we always do here, which is quickly go over the movie info. So this story is all about Meg Murray, a typical middle school student struggling with issues of self-worth, who is desperate to fit in. As the daughter of 2 world-renowned physicists, she is intelligent and uniquely gifted, as is Meg's younger brother, Charles Wallace. But she has yet to realize it for herself. Making matters even worse is the baffling disappearance of Mr. Murray, which torments Meg and has left her mother heartbroken. Charles Wallace introduces Meg and her fellow classmate Calvin to 3 celestial guides, Mrs. Witch, Mrs. Whatsit, and Mrs. Who have journeyed to Earth to help search for their father, and together they set off on their formidable quest. Traveling via wrinkling time and space known as tessering, they are soon transported to the worlds beyond their imagination, where they must confront a powerful evil. To make it back home, Meg must look deep within herself and embrace her flaws to harness the strength necessary to defeat the darkness closing in on them. And if you've seen the trailer, you know very much circles around Oprah's line of "you must be the light," which obviously makes sense. If you're ever finding yourself surrounded by darkness, you'd want to ultimately be the light. So it does seem like interesting. The young adult novel is clearly one that people have known for decades. There was a movie made about it in the 90s. You know, this is just a modern take on it. And coming from Ava DuVernay, who's supposed to be this big how-to-do director that Disney really wanted to get her on this project, 44%, not a good call. As always, when we take a look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores, I like to look at the first 5 fresh and the top 5 rotten to give you an idea of what to expect from the film. So Chris Knight from the National Post gives the film a fresh review, saying it won't transport every viewer to its glorious place, but its message to little girls and boys comes through loud and clear, meaning that this movie very much is going to act as Keenen Ivory Wayans from the movie Don't Be a Menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood, where he's just going to kick down the door every single scene and go, "Message!" So the movie itself isn't going to do much for every viewer, but the message is trying to send is clear, and again, that's not a horrible thing. Ty Burr from the Boston Globe says, "What holds A Wrinkle in Time together is why kids should love it even as we fallen grown-ups pick at the nits, is the strength of family feeling at its center." And that will be a good thing. I think we do need to see more positive takes on family and everything else, because that does usually equal a lot of heart, and that is something that I myself look for. Suzette Smith from The Stranger says, DuVernay doesn't cut the weird, though, without adding wonder. Her update to the 3 Mrs. W's is particularly spectacular. And you can tell based upon the fact that they got Oprah Winfrey, yeah, that's where a lot of not only the marketing, but even a lot of the advertising and the marketing and the trailers and everything have really focused more on her. Even the fact that she got her own Barbie doll, or her own doll, has been played more than the doll of Storm Reed. If that one exists, I have no idea. Allison Shoemaker here from Consequence of Sound says, thrilling though Meg's fight for the universe and her family might be, the film's journey into darkness doesn't reach the highs of its exploration of goodness. So basically it falls short on the narrative while trying to chase that particular storyline of just being good. I get that. And that's kind of been, I guess, kind of what feels like an overall theme here, is that the message is really solid, but how you get there is kind of jumbled, kind of a mess, and quite frankly, Radhayen Simon Pillai says, Meg's clear emotional baseline is something an audience can hang on and hold on to. And that makes sense. That does make a lot of sense, where if the main character, in this case Storm Reed, is able to bring it and at least grip the audience and make them understand where her plight is coming from, where she currently sits on a lot of these issues, then yeah, you can see how and why they would want that. That would be something that you'd want to push. Now let's take a look over at the top 5 Rotten reviews, because I think we're going to get a lot more fun out of this. So Courtney Howard from Fresh Fiction says, while this divisive adaptation is ambitious, visionary, and cosmic, it's just as equally problematic, awkward, and frustrating, giving it an original score of a C-. So yeah, the nuts and bolts of the machine are clearly what's at fault here. While they tried, you could say that Ava DuVernay very much tried to go big and bold and crazy with it, which I guess is to be commended. But at the same time, the story kind of sucks. Like, how they tell the story kind of sucks. The scenes, okay, this is from Jason Garasio from Business Insider, saying the scenes just drag on and seem to marvel at its special effects, which aren't that strong to begin with, instead of moving the story forward. And this seems to be a problem with Disney live action films that are adaptations. I would argue in many cases, like going back to Maleficent, for example, that was just a horrible movie. Again, focusing a lot on the CG. Go back and take a look at Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. It felt like you were meant to see the scenery and marvel at Helena Bonham Carter's head versus the story. And then also the second Alice in Wonderland movie, it felt very similar to that. And this is kind of what Disney does when they put out these March releases. That case in point, Beauty and the Beast last year. That got rave reviews. It was an adaptation of a 25-year-old animated movie. All they had to do was copy the script from that and put it into this movie, which they effectively did. But the CG was so rampant, especially in the Be My Guest scene, or Be Our Guest scene, and I just did not, it took me out of the movie. And I have a feeling that's going to happen here as well. Now, J.R. Kinnard from Pop Matters says, DuVernay clearly wants to show us a good time, but a guiding artistic vision never materializes. And that's weird, because she's traditionally a dramatic actor. Selma was very well received. Very, very well received. So you figure that her coming in to tackle this kind of big budget movie, she'd be able to tell that kind of story just with having a much larger budget. And the thing is, it's not for everybody. And I think we're going to see that here. I wouldn't be surprised if Ava DuVernay never actually goes after a movie like this ever again. Kind of like Josh Trank and Fan Forstick, where he coming off of the low budget Chronicle, which focused more on character and telling that story with some effects, to Fan Forstick, which was just an abomination unto God. That kind of, you can see how that can happen. Will Ashton from the playlist here says, it doesn't dazzle like the stars, and it doesn't transport us away. Original score is a C. Yeah, that seems to be a going theme here. And Matt Goldberg from Collider says, A Wrinkle in Time always feels discombobulated, eager to please a wide audience, but also trying to be a little weird and unique. That's an admirable goal. I just wish the movie had pulled it off. Again, that seems to be the general saying there. There was ambition. That Ava DuVernay's attempt at this was ambitious. It was bold. It was crazy. But it failed to meet its mark. And that ultimately, I think, comes down to, the idea that an independent director coming into an adaptation with a couple $100 million budget probably doesn't always make for the best of bedfellows. So there we have it. A Wrinkle in Time, 44% on Rotten Tomatoes. And listen, I don't feel bad. The movie looked bad from the beginning. When I first saw the trailer, I knew that it was going to be bad. Something about it felt off, and I think a part of that is the CG, which, in early trailers for a movie, the CG generally tends to look inauthentic, right? Because when a movie focuses way too much on its computer graphics, or what the artistry that goes into it, it takes away from what you see. I mean, it is meant to be, you know, something that's a garnish on the dish, not the whole meal. And when I looked at the CG from the first trailer and how it felt very plastic and very fake and very forced, and then I see the CG in later trailers and later clips, and it doesn't look much better, that again tells me that they really ran into a snag. And that could be carried over if the story itself was good. But what we've seen here is that the story, while ambitious, never necessarily hits its mark, mostly due to the fact that it is, well, rather incomprehensible. And even though Storm Reid is probably very good in the role and the acting wasn't really criticized, the direction and everything else is really where the movie fell apart. So we'll have to wait and see how the audiences take it. We'll have to wait and see whether or not the audiences jump on board. But the way it's looking ultimately is that A Wrinkle in Time is going to be one that time forgot. Anyway, my name, of course, is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. Be sure to leave your comment below if you haven't already. Thumbs up the video. Subscribe if you are new. I am giving away a copy of the Justice League on Blu-ray on March 10th, so be sure to check the community tab on the main page for that. And to enter, all you got to do is just comment below and make sure you are, in fact, subscribed. And if you just want to watch more content from me, you can do so right now.